RG1570. No, this is not a new guitar. I've actually had this since 2009. Quick backstory, this came from a very close friend and old bandmate of mine, Tom Sherman. So yes, Tom, dude, we still have this guitar 15 years later. Now, you may have caught my complete demo and specs and features of this guitar. I made that on YouTube back in 2020, about 5 years ago. But a lot of things have happened since then, and there have been a few changes here and there, and this guitar has experienced a few things. I want to share that with you. Oh, and there is one little issue that just popped up like a month ago out of nowhere. It's kind of weird, and I'm just curious if you've ever experienced anything like this. We'll talk about that at the end. Now, I'm not going to rehash the full specs, but we'll go over the high-level stuff. So, number one, the Prestige RG1570. This model, I believe, was being made 2003 to about 2009, and it's a Japanese-made guitar. It was made in the FujiGen factory at that time. And if I have any of this wrong, guys, please feel free to correct me in the comments. But I do believe, Tom told me, my friend who sold this to me, he told me this is, I believe, a 2003 model. Now, a couple of quick things about the specs of this guitar. So we do have the wizard neck, and this is a bolt-on neck, guys. So this is the bolt-on wizard neck. And the cool thing I like about these necks, and I know they're not for everybody, but they're super thin. In fact, let me grab my telly. So if we compare this to this is an American Telecaster here. I just want to hold this up real quick just to show you the comparison here. You can see how much thicker the telly neck is. And the telly neck's not like ultra thick. I think it's more like a C shape or something like that. But you can see how thin the Ibanez neck is. Now, the other thing about the wizard necks in general is because of that thinness here, your fingerboard is actually, I believe, is slightly wider, just a little bit. It's really hard to tell, but I can tell when I'm playing, especially down in this area here around the 12th fret and on to the higher notes here. It seems like this is the fretboard is a little bit wider than, say, my Telly and other guitars like ESP and some others I've had. So that's really just a comfort thing. That's not like a good or bad thing. Again, some people love these necks, some people don't. I happen to favor them, although there's a little issue, but that's what we're going to talk about at the end. So stay tuned for that. Also, it's got the Ibanez tremolo setup here. It's got the Edge Pro dual locking trim. And I'm not going to say I like these better than Floyd Rose. I like them both, to be honest with you. I will say, just over the years of having this guitar with the Edge Pro and having several guitars with Floyd Rose setup, this seems to be a little bit easier to change the strings on. Now, that just could be because I change strings on this more often than other guitars because this has been my main guitar for so long now. So it could be just that I'm used to it. So I try to take the bias out. I mean, of course, Floyd Rose is amazing as well. But in any case, this is, I don't know, it's just a cool trim. I like changing, well, I hate changing strings, but they just seem to be a little bit easier. And I will say that this guitar stays in tune quite well. Now, of course, the locking trim helps with that. And also the setup, how you have this set up. My strings are pretty low here. I don't know the dimensions, but when I got it set up initially at my local guitar store, Replay Guitar Exchange here in Tampa, they set it up just perfectly here. The strings are pretty low, but not buzzing. And again, a lot of that stuff, you know, sometimes like playability and things like that. I mean, you can take a guitar that you don't think plays that well and have a professional set it up, and you're like, whoa, okay, it plays just fine now. Now, the pickups on this guitar, these are the stock pickups. Yes, I still have them in. So this is the V8, S1, and V7 pickups. Now, in 2021, I think the beginning of 2021, I actually changed them out. See, when I first got this guitar, again, this is back in like late 2009, I didn't really care for the pickups. They just never really hit me for some reason. And it was probably more so the gear that I was playing through back in those days. I was playing through some plugins. I did have a small little Vox amp with a distortion pedal. probably not going to get the metal tone out of that, right, that I'm looking for. But also I was playing with some processors like the Pod XT Live. Then I went up to the Pod HD 500. Some of you remember all those videos as well. But back then I was playing more of the LTD M1000 Deluxe guitar that I had. And this was just kind of like a backup guitar. And I just didn't care for the pickups for some reason. Of course, I'm playing stock Ibanez versus the EMG, the active EMGs that I had in the LTD guitar. So I changed out the pickups early 2001, and I had this done, of course, at my local guitar shop, Replay Guitar Exchange. You guys know I work really close with Riff with Cliff over at Replay, so you guys have seen several videos with me at Replay and all that. But yeah, I love those guys over there. But anyway, I had them change these pickups out to the DiMarzio Air Norton. Air Norton tones on, and I can't remember what the single coil was, so they changed them out, brought the guitar back home, and I just felt like something was missing. And I just couldn't put my finger on it, no pun intended. But yeah, I went back to Replay. Of course, I paid for all this. I'm like, hey, can you guys change them back to the stocks? So I had the stock pickups put back in. And again, you probably caught the videos on all that. But I think sometimes it's not so much that anything changes here. I think we change. We evolve obviously as people, but also as guitar players and musicians. We evolve. We just kind of morph. And sometimes you don't even know what you're evolving into as a guitar player. But when I had these pickups put back in, it was like, I'm back home. And something just hit me. I started to really like them. Now, of course, I started playing through some different amplifiers. I later got the EVH amp, the EVH 5153, which sounds phenomenal with this guitar. And then later I got some Black Star pedals and Black Star amp, the HT Venue MK3. Actually, that amp is in the shop. I had some fuse issues and some other issues with it. So that's in the shop. That should be back in a few weeks. And of course, the plugins and processors started to become a bit more enhanced. So they sounded a little bit better with the passive stock pickups here. Now, I will say this. These aren't my favorite pickups in the whole entire universe of pickups. They're not my favorite, but ranking 1 to 10, I'll give them 8.5, maybe even closer to 9, somewhere in that range. I do like them a lot. And that's because there's a very distinct tone that you get out of these pickups. Again, the V7, S1, and V8. There's a very distinct tone that I've never heard anywhere. Now, let me make this point real quick. I know some people will say, well, pickups don't matter. This passive pickup's the same as those other 10 passive pickups. Now, the difference may be subtle. I will admit that. But sometimes that subtle difference is all it takes for you to have a different approach, a different way you view the guitar and feel the notes that you're playing. And I will say, if you're an experienced player, if you've been playing guitar for more than 5 years, hey, you may be watching this like, Jason, I've been playing for 30, 40 years. You know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've been really honed into your instrument for any length of time and you're serious about this thing, then you know there is a difference, as subtle as it may be, between the pickups. I think everything matters, right? Everything in conjunction, I think it all matters. I think the wood matters. I think, of course, obviously the amp, the speaker cab, or the processor you're playing through, the IRs, whatever. You could take, for example, and I'm going off on the beaten path here, but you could take 10 guitars with different pickups, plug them into the exact same amplifier, don't touch the amp, leave the settings alone. And again, if you're an experienced guitarist, you're going to hear some subtle differences between those pickups and between those instruments. Again, it's not just one thing, but it's collectively different things. But all that said, yeah, these pickups, they have a very distinct sound to them. So that's why I like them. Now, real quick with that, this guitar does have the 5-way switch. You got the 2 humbucker single coil, so you got the 5-way switch there. Volume, tone, pretty standard stuff. One of the main reasons I wanted to make this updated video on this guitar, because it still remains to be my main guitar. After all these years, 15 plus years now. And I know 5+ years ago, I gave you a proper review and demo of this thing, ran down the specs. Now, at that time, I had recorded my second album called Heavy Metal Workout. Very much a themed album, just some standard, kind of almost stock metal style riffs and some pretty simple melodies for leads and that sort of thing. But it was created just to have some background music to listen to while you're working out or whatever you're doing, right? Just some metal background music. Like pretend you're at a coffee shop, you hear smooth jazz playing or whatever. Well, at this other coffee shop over here, or the gym, you hear just some cool metal playing in the background. And that's what that album was for. But I recorded Heavy Metal Workout with this guitar. Now, since then, I've actually used this guitar to record my latest album to date called Overcometh. That was released in 2023. And I used this guitar. I initially recorded the tracks with my EVH 5153. I went back and re-recorded everything. I kind of wish I didn't because I had like perfectly recorded guitar tracks, but I had started working with Black Star just on a very, very small deal I had with them featuring their HT Venue MK3 amplifier. I re-recorded all the tracks using this guitar with that amplifier. Still happy with the tones. That's another story I'll talk about later, the recording of that album, because there's a lot of little things that happen and several things I wish I had done differently. That'll be for another video if you guys want to hear that story. I'm happy to share it with you. Let me know in the comments and I'll make that. But in any case, I recorded that entire album with this guitar, and since I've also played this guitar live a few times as Jason Stallworth, as you know, a full metal band. So you guys know I play a lot of acoustic shows around town, but it's been about once a year. I need to make this like more than once a year, but I've played my own music. I've recruited other band members to play with me. You know, Drew from the Drinking with Drew show, he's been playing guitar with me. I had William James from Must Not Kill on drums. I had Daniel Santana on bass, but all phenomenal musicians. And, you know, we came together, learned my songs from the Overcometh album. And yeah, this guitar has been the one that I've played on stage so far for all those shows. Now, the challenge that I've had with this guitar lately, and this is going to just sound completely weird, but I've actually had some trouble playing it with the wider fretboard and the thinner neck. For some reason, I don't know, it's just become slightly uncomfortable to play this neck. Now, I don't know if that has something to do with me. I mean, I just turned 50 years old a few months ago. Is it more of a Jason problem, or is it more of we just morph, we just change? But like I said, you know, I've been playing my Telecaster and just kind of going back and forth a lot between the two necks. And this neck style here, not necessarily the Tele, but just the neck style in general, it seems a little bit more comfortable for me to play. Now, that does not mean I'm getting rid of my Prestige RG1570. No, I'm not. Actually, I've been playing this a lot the past couple of days, purposely just trying to get around this little issue that I'm having. But I guess, have you ever had this issue? Have you ever had a guitar that you've played for a long time and there's a certain thing about it, like in this case, it's the Wizard neck, and it's been so comfortable and it's worked for you, but then one day you wake up and you're like, this just doesn't feel the same anymore. So that's kind of weird, and I don't know if it's something that I just need to get over. You know, I talked about my age. I'm over 50. That might be a mental thing. Who knows? You guys know I stay in good health. I stay in shape. I work out on a regular basis. I lift weights. I take a lot of supplements, and I eat healthy for the most part. I kind of follow the 80-20 rule on that. For the most part, I stay healthy. So, you know, I haven't had like any pains in my hands or anything like that, but just this fretboard here and just the neck has just felt a little different in the past. I've been experiencing this for about a month now. So has this ever happened to you? I'd love to know in the comments, especially some of you guys have been playing for a long time and maybe you're a little older, you're my age or older or whatever. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced anything like this. But no, that does not mean I'm getting rid of this. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Real quick, if you do not have my free practice guide, Metal Riffs and Licks, grab a copy of that. I give this practice guide away to all my YouTube subscribers, my way of saying thank you. Now, if you have Metal Riffs and Licks and you like my style of teaching, then consider joining the Jason Stallworth Guitar Academy. I've got links for everything in the description of this video. But yeah, guys, I'd be happy to know your comments, especially on that last piece we just talked about, like when things seem to change, you know, like it worked before and now it's just different. So drop a comment and let me know. Guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I appreciate you. As always, keep it metal and keep playing music.